Well, Cowboys Nation, it wasn't necessarily the prettiest win you'll ever have, but a win is a win in the NFL, especially on the road. 20-15, the final score in an ugly Thursday night football affair from MetLife Stadium. But the Cowboys are back to 500. They are 2-2. Welcome into the Globe Life Studios. This is the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper. He's Isaiah Stanback. He's Nate Newton. Two Super Bowl champions help breaking it down. What just happened up in New York? I'm Kyle Yeomans. Glad you're with us. Nate, I'm going to start with you because you've won a lot of football games in your time.
Yes, sir.
A lot of times.
Yes, sir.
Back in the day. They weren't always pretty.
No,
this
they wasn't.
is one for the Cowboys that you check the box and you move on. What did you think about today's win?
They battled. They kept fighting. What I liked about it, 3 days rest, and they had to travel. That was a great thing. They ran the ball more effectively with just what's kid, young man? Rico Dowdle. They got 80 yards rushing. They held them to 5 field goals. That was the greatest thing. I saw Mozzie Smith make some plays. I see Overshown benefiting from Mozzie penetrating the offensive line and making him eat up blocks. I am excited. I mean, I know it's not a very good Giants team. I know Daniel Jones missed some throws, but to go in there off 3 days rest and to travel and to win this game, yes.
Sometimes you gotta get a little Bubba Sparks. You gotta get a little ugly.
Yeah.
You gotta get a little ugly.
Yeah.
And that's what this was. This was an ugly win. But it was a win, and that's what you needed because you were 1-2 going into the game, and now you're back to even Steven, and that's all that really matters. And you're 1-1 in the NFC now, right? So now you're in good standing. You're 1-0 in the NFC East, so all is well. Hopefully you come out relatively healthy. There's a number of guys that went down in this game. D-Law, Michael Parsons. Both of your starting defensive ends went down, so you have to hold your breath and find out what's the case with that. But other than that, a lot of things to clean up, but you got the dub.
That's the thing about it is you come out of it a little banged up. I mean, Trayvon Diggs left with an injury. Micah Parsons, of course, was carted off there late. We'll talk about that a little bit here in a moment. But, I mean, overall, this was a physical football game. Wasn't always great. Tyler Guyton had his ups and downs, but I think New York had a bit of a chip on their shoulder. They just couldn't finish drives.
Yeah, they couldn't finish drives. I mean, the reality is, I know people don't want to hear this. This is two teams that are not playing very well right now.
Yeah.
And that's really what it comes down to. And you just needed your team to get a victory, right? Like these guys just said, short week. You got some guys that got beat up. You got some young players that are trying to clean up some stuff. But you needed something positive because this team was literally on the edge of self-destruction. So now you have something that you can go back to and say, hey, okay, we got the dub. Now let's go back and find whatever positive we can that we can build upon so that we can go ahead and make sure we start winning ball games week after week.
16 first downs for New York. 300 total yards, 303 yards. They almost got that rush in the last 2 weeks. Mm-hmm. Positive all over the place. Now Zim can show them a film of them defeating somebody on defense. I'm excited about this. I just want them to continue to build. And I know the Cowboys are not what they should be or what we thought they would be coming out of training camp, but to go on the road after a short week, first time ever, guys getting beat up, they pulled it out. I didn't like that last field goal. I thought we should have punted, but I'm going to live with Mike McCarthy.
The thing is, okay, going to the ugly wins, there's something to be said about winning an ugly ball game.
No doubt.
You lost the time of possession by 10 minutes. You had 11 penalties to try to beat yourself.
Right.
You weren't really scoring touchdowns, right? Things weren't going your way. You're 30% on third down conversion. Things just weren't good when you look at the stats. But the one stat that matters is the dub. So like Big Nate is saying, okay, there's things that you can work off of, and there's a reason to be excited because now, again, you have something positive because the last 2 weeks just weren't positive.
No, it was not. And I think one of the biggest positives out of this, Nate, you alluded to it, 464 rushing yards allowed over the last 2 weeks. I'm sure Cowboys fans are tired of hearing that stat. Well, you don't have to anymore because they allowed just 26 yards on the ground. And it wasn't without trying from New York. New York rushed the ball 24 times. They had 24 carries for 26 yards. That's 1.1 yards per carry What went right this time around whenever it came to stopping the run?
Mozzie.
Yeah, I was about to say.
There you go.
I mean, yeah, you saw somebody show up, number 58, Mozzie Smith, the first-round draft pick for the Dallas Cowboys, the one person that everybody's been pointing the finger at, saying that he needs to step up. Well, he stepped up tonight apparently, and he was able to. There was a number of times where we were like, man, was that Mozzie that was in the backfield? Yes, he was in the backfield. So I'm not sure what lit his fire, but I don't know. Keep that furnace burning.
I tell you what, man, and that's what excites me. If the light bulb has came on, so and he can play consistent. You don't always have to knock people back in the backfield, but if you run down the line and can control the line of scrimmage, so Overshown, so Hendricks can run and come downhill, man.
Overshown was
Come on,
running.
man. They was coming downhill. And that excites me because I like Devin Singletary. I thought he would have a nice night. I thought he would get close to 100 yards, but he didn't.
Yep.
He didn't. And CeeDee Lamb, love you, baby, but I needed 2 more yards from 100 yards, baby, to get my point. We'll talk about that later.
Going all the way back to pregame live and call your shot. I said the Giants would rush for less than 100 yards.
Right.
I got my points.
You got yours,
That's
man.
how it
Leading
happens.
now.
That's how it
Hey,
happens.
right now,
Thank you
the
very
man.
much. Appreciate
Yeah,
it. Thank
but
you.
you,
Yeah,
you're
that's the
negative.
respect that
You're
was needed.
negative.
I'm zero. I'm zero. I'm zero.
Watch Cowboys pregame live. You'll understand what we're talking about. Last one from me, guys. Dak Prescott today, almost unflappable in terms of what he was doing. 22 passes completed out of 27 attempts. Right. I mean, over 80% completion. Did not throw an interception. He had a couple of touchdowns. What did Dak do right in this football game? And why wasn't the offense clicking the way that it should whenever Dak's playing at that level?
Dak was very accurate today.
Yeah.
His ball location, which I've been super critical of in the past, was on point. We talked about in a pregame show, talked about statistically how many the catching, the space that CeeDee Lamb has had or the lack thereof in terms of all the balls that he's received this year. The guys have been sticky on defense, but Dak was putting the ball where these defenders couldn't get it, and only CD could get it. So that was something that was very impressive today, something that people should take away from this game, something that Dak can go back and say, you know what, I was doggone good at that this game. I need to continue to have that. But they didn't have the opportunity to really push the ball down the field. But again, they didn't need to. You know, you talk about 80% precision on tight passes, tight coverage, and there were some drops in there as well. So those 5 incompletions that he had were not all because of bad passes. Some of those were because of drops.
Yeah.
Dak had maybe 15 hits on him last week. He had, they say 3 on the stat sheet. I promise you, but if you look on there, it'll probably be 7 to 8. He's been under duress, and he stayed precise in his passes. He's hit the right guys. The last game, he threw a couple of ugly ones, but this game here, he was precise in what he was doing. He was trying to help his receivers gain and open. I think having Ferguson back was a big help. Tolbert showed up again tonight. They kind of took my boy CD way late, but they stayed the course. And Dak, my hat's off to you. The last 2 games, you've been on course.
No doubt about it. And the Cowboys do get the job done on the road. 20-15, the final score in a short week Thursday night football matchup with the New York Giants. They are 1-0 inside the NFC East. They are back to 500 on the 2024 season, and they get a mini bye now to rest up and try and get healthy going into another road matchup next Sunday in Week 5 against the Pittsburgh Steelers. That will be a fun matchup. We've got Cowboys game night coming up shortly to break down all of it and hear some post-game reaction from MetLife Stadium inside the locker room after the Cowboys win this one 20-15, the final score. For Isaiah Stanback, Nate Newton, I'm Kyle Yeomans. That does it for the First Word presented by Dr. Pepper.